Hi, Melissa. Welcome.
Hi, Tara. Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Melissa Dealey is an integrative mind body health practitioner and a trainer of NLP, timeline therapy, hypnotherapy, NLP results coaching, and magnified healing, dedicated to helping individuals heal by addressing toxins in all four bodies: the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. Her business is entirely virtual, allowing her to work with clients across the English speaking world. Melissa will be presenting at the upcoming ABH Hypnosis Conference this September. We're only about a month away, and her topic is moving from fear to empowerment in my healing journey. So, welcome, Melissa.
Thank you.
And just to learn a little bit more about you, what is it that triggered your transition from corporate to holistic health and empowerment coaching?
Well, the initial trigger was being let go when Big Fish bought Little Fish. And after 24 years in the corporate world, I was informed that I wasn't needed anymore because Big Fish already had somebody that did my job. So I was let go with an hour to clear out my desk, no word of thanks, and landed on my rear end. And in that moment, though, I realized three things: that whatever I did next, I wanted it to be more of service to humanity and the planet,
Mhm.
and that I wanted to work for myself and not somebody else, and that I had no idea what I was going to do. However, I was absolutely open to being guided. And guided I was through both of my daughters having concussions fairly shortly after that at a very similar time. And I started, because I wasn't working full time, I was helping guide their healing journey. And as I was doing that, I was learning about the medical system, learning about the body's ability to heal, learning how stress, when we're in a stressed out state, the body cannot heal. And I was diving into understanding all of this and
Mhm.
helping other people just holistically from with their concussion recoveries, because I live in a small town and people knew what was going on and they knew my daughters were healing, and all of a sudden people just started calling me going, my husband got a concussion, can you help? My son got a concussion, can you help? Or even employers, so and so, such and such an employee has a concussion, how do I help them come back to work? And so
Mhm.
I was literally learning and then sharing, learning and then sharing. I was one step ahead of the people that I was helping,
Mhm.
and it was helping. And then before long, I was invited to work in a holistic clinic. And
Mhm.
I wanted to do that. And then I went to get insurance, and I wasn't able to get insurance because I didn't have any qualifications. And so that's what sent me back to school, because I did want to do this work. I wanted to serve. I wanted to help people on their healing journey.
Mhm.
And I called up a friend who was a life coach and said, you've got a good life coaching practice. Where did you study? I need to get a certification. And he said, you shouldn't be a life coach. You need to be a health coach. And I went, what's that? Never heard that word. So again, that was like the gift given to me in that moment. And it landed, whereas life coaching had never really landed, which is why I hadn't done it before. And so
Mhm.
now I sign up, I find health coaching schools online. I sign up, I started a week later, and health coaching led me to integrative mind body health work, which led me then to NLP, timeline therapy, hypnotherapy, and just bringing all the pieces together of the four bodies that you mentioned earlier in my bio. And that is how we get to true health. And so it's been guided every step of the way, and I've loved every moment of it.
Yeah, great. Isn't that amazing how, it can start with such a simple story, about, as you said, your kids having a concussion that can lead to, all this transition when you take note of what life is sending you those messages and you really took those on board. That's great. And so
Exactly.
all those different methodologies that you talk about, and in there, the timeline therapy and NLP and hypnotherapy, how do you weave and, have those processes work together when you work with clients?
Well, because I jokingly call myself the friendly toxin slayer, and I let people know that I help them detox their physical, their emotional, their mental, and their spiritual body,
Mhm.
I literally weave it together from the outset. We live in a toxic world, unfortunately, and when people are coming to me, they are coming to me with health issues. And so we do start addressing it in the physical body, and I let them know that is not enough.
Mm,
because for the symptoms to have shown up in that physical body, they've already moved down through the spiritual, the mental, and the emotional bodies, and
mm,
perhaps remained outside our awareness, or perhaps we've ignored them as we've been programmed to do.
yeah.
And now they're in our physical body. So we start the healing there, and we do have to address the healing that needs to take place in the emotional body, in the mental body, in the spiritual body. And of
Mhm,
course, timeline therapy is such a beautiful gift for being able to address the toxins, the stuffed down emotions in the emotional body, the limiting decisions in the mental body, the way we talk to ourselves based on that is the
mhm,
mental toxicity that we need to eradicate. And then when it comes to the spiritual alignment, that is ensuring that when all the work is said and done, that this person really is on mission, that they understand their mission in this lifetime, and that
mhm,
they have the resources and the tools and the support if they need to change what they're doing in life. Because unfortunately, there's too many people that have the golden handcuffs on and they think they have to stay in a job that is sucking their soul, that they hate because it
mm,
pays the bills and it gives them a benefit plan. And
mm,
yet, staying in that job is actually creating the dis-ease that they're experiencing. And
mm,
so, if that's the situation as well, then we need to work on shifting that and having them move into something that brings them joy every day. Because
mm.
face it, life is short and we should get to enjoy it. We can enjoy it when we understand how all of these pieces fit together and can make those choices for ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're going to talk at conference about moving from fear to empowerment. What are
Yes.
some of fear just seems like, a pretty big thing, especially when it comes to health and, people
Mm.
find out that something might be going on, they get worried, they get tests, and this fear really starts creeping in and elevating. So what patterns do you see in clients who are stuck when they come to you in this fear-based thinking?
I teach them a lot about the programming because it is the programming of society that has taught them that they need to be afraid, rather than having the understanding of how the body is designed to heal itself. And when we can tap into the tools and the power of the body's ability to heal, we don't need to have that fear. And then the
Mm,
other piece of it is that fear is tanking our immune system at a
mm,
time when we need it most. And so we need to have the courage and an understanding of how our body system works in order to be able to step out of that fear and step into taking empowered action, which is what I did and why I'm sharing my story. And in fact, in my moment of fear when I was driving home after receiving the diagnosis, because I have all of the training that I have, I recognized the fear like that and said, I don't want fear.
mhm,
I want my immune system strong. How do I get rid of the fear? I asked the question, how is this happening for me?
mm.
And that helped me move through the fear. And the answer there was in order to have a more powerful health story to share with others. And so it is my mission to do this, to let other people know that there is more than one way to heal.
Yes.
And fear serves no place in that healing journey. So a lot of my work is focused on education just so that people understand this and can shift their mindset around it. And then bringing in the tools again to detox the programming in order for
Mm.
them to be able to step into this understanding of the fact that there are more than one way to heal and the body is designed to self heal. So let's work with that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what role does belief reprogramming play in the coaching that you do? Because you mentioned just then, that clients are stuck in this programming of this fear.
Mm-hmm.
Very
Mm-hmm.
similar. There's a lot of beliefs out there around
Yes.
health, especially when people receive a diagnosis. So, how does that belief reprogramming sort of play out in your coaching?
It's absolutely a necessary, integral part of someone's healing journey. And
Hmm.
so using the tools of the unconscious mind, of which hypnosis is one, and then timeline
Mhm.
therapy is extremely powerful too,
Mhm.
in eradicating those, the false programming,
Mhm.
the programming that no longer serves, and being able to use hypnosis to implant the beautiful suggestions of what does serve and what does allow this person to move forward. And
Mhm.
this is required for every single client that I work with, because
Yeah.
it's no fault of anybody's that they have societal programming of fear around any kind of health diagnosis.
Mhm.
And what I encourage people to do is to recognize that that is the programming and we can rise above it. We can shift it to what serves us for what you want, the outcomes you want, and the person you're becoming.
Yeah, absolutely. So, can you share with us, perhaps? I know you talk about your own journey with, health and overcoming those obstacles and those challenges that we face. What about a client story of someone's transformation? Have you got, a client story that you could share with us about how they sort of came in and how they left your coaching?
Absolutely. One of my favorite ones, and I think it's one of my favorites, is because I think many women will relate to this,
Mhm.
that she came to me with low energy, couldn't sleep, had 3 young boys, couldn't keep up with them, just felt that she was not even able to live her as her full self anymore.
Mhm.
And she knew something was wrong. And by the time she'd come to me, she'd spent 2 years going to different doctors, doing different tests in order to figure out what's wrong and receive the diagnosis. Again, the belief is once I know what the diagnosis is, then I know what I can do about it.
Mm.
When she came to me, we did start working with the physical body. I
Mhm.
run different lab tests. I run functional medicine lab tests. And I'm looking for the deficiencies, the nutritional deficiencies in the body, which, of
Mhm.
course, if there's nutritional deficiencies, the body can't have the energy that it's supposed to have. And if you've had 3 children and nursed 3 children, that's a big drain on mom's body, right? So I was looking for the nutritional deficiencies. I was looking for imbalances, hormonal imbalances, imbalances in omega 3s, omega 6s. I was looking for toxicities that could be draining her system, such as heavy metal toxicities and other toxicities. And we ran these labs. She also had gut health issues. And of course, Hippocrates said thousands of years ago, all disease starts in the gut. I like to say all health starts in the gut, right? When the gut's unhealthy, it's very hard for us to be producing serotonin, dopamine, for the liver to be functioning properly, et cetera, et cetera. So we looked at all of the physical aspects. And
Mhm.
that was a huge aha for her, because finally she had data that showed her that there were things that were out of balance with her body, and that it wasn't all in her head like the doctors were telling her.
Mhm.
And she was right to listen to her intuition. And I always say to my clients that you are your own best doctor, because you've lived in your body your entire life. So you do know when something is off, and you absolutely have the right to keep searching for
Mm.
solutions. And if someone tells you it's all in your head, then fine, go to the next person and listen to that intuition. And so we started in the physical body, and we then layered on the emotional body, right? And she'd had trauma in her life that was still being carried in her body.
Mm.
And through releasing all of the emotions at the root, we were able to clear that. And for the
Mm.
first time in a long time, she felt peace. She felt quiet in her head. She felt calm in her body, and her whole nervous system settled.
Mhm.
And then we're able to release the limiting beliefs, etc. And then the spiritual alignment. And she was one of those people that was in a job that was sucking her soul. And so we
Mhm.
worked through an entire plan of how she could release herself from that, start her own business without forsaking the income that her family needed, etc. So it was over time. And
Mm.
it was just such a wonderful experience to work with her over the course of about 12 months.
Mm.
Her health returned within 6 months of that to her saying, I am feeling better than I can ever remember feeling, because our body is so forgiving. And when we start to give it what it needs and bring it back into balance, our body can thrive again. And
Mm,
she had just wasn't aware of how much she was lacking in terms of the nutrients that her body needed in order to be able to be have a full-time career and mom to three young kids all under the age of 10 years old.
mm,
And so that's just one example of that's a very typical client of mine, is a
mhm.
mom with a career with kids that is depleted.
Sure. That's amazing to be able to create, such a massive transformation, as you said, in like just
Mm,
every area of her life. And, sounds like your coaching just, fully looks at everything because, sometimes, um, we can have to, maybe go and visit one person to, look after the emotional aspect of our well-being, and someone else
right.
understand what's going on in terms of, the nutrition and stuff like that, as you said, to be able to integrate all of that and to create such a massive transformation for someone in terms of their overall health and well-being. That's an absolute gift to them. That's amazing. So,
And I love this work, and that's actually why when a naturopathic doctor reached out to me when I was simply an integrative health practitioner, I didn't have the NLP, the hypnosis, and all the tools of the unconscious mind, etc. When she reached out to me, it was at that perfect time. I was
mm,
working with some clients who were following my wellness protocols, all focused on the physical body only and doing great. And then other clients had the best of intentions of following them and were falling off. And I didn't understand why. And then
okay.
when she reached out to me and we did a coffee chat, she started talking about the programming and the unconscious mind. And that's when I went, oh, that's the missing piece in my practice in being able to help these people that were falling off actually be
Mm,
successful. And so
yeah.
that's why I jumped in and decided to learn this. And the rest is history, because these tools are so powerful and I consider them a gift. And I would, ultimately, I would love to see timeline therapy become a household name and everybody to know that that's an option in anybody's healing journey.
Mm.
And you don't have to relive your trauma by talking about it over and over again.
Yes, absolutely. And a gift that they walk away with for the rest of their life in terms of the
Exactly.
skills of being able to identify those things and being able to move them on as well. So that's
Exactly.
so what is your biggest hope for the attendees at conference for your session? So given that there's going to be a lot of, coaches, some trainers in the audience at the conference, what is it that you'd like to walk away with from your session?
I would like them to all walk away knowing that there is more than one way to heal. Their body is designed to self heal, and that they can absolutely reach out to practitioners to support them on that journey if they're not a health practitioner already themselves. And if they are, then they
Mm,
already know what I'm sharing.
mhm,
It's Again, our programming is that if we get sick, we go to the doctor and the doctor gives us some medicine and that's going to heal us. And the reality is our acute care system is fabulous, and we're failing people in chronic illness today. There's far too many people struggling with chronic illness in the US, for instance, right now. I believe it's 1 in 4. What are the numbers? 1 in 3, I think, have at least one chronic illness,
yeah.
and then 1 in 6 have more than one.
Mm,
And they're being given medications and saying, here, take this for the rest of your life. And they're in a holding pattern of
mm,
continuing to have that chronic illness. They're not actually putting it behind them. And
mm,
I want people to know that through all of these tools that we offer, that
mm,
we can actually heal from chronic illness, heal from many of the diseases that
mm,
people are fearful of when they get a diagnosis. And
yeah.
as more people start to understand that, then the fear will be alleviated as well. It won't feel so scary. It'll be just like, oh, okay. And I know what I need to do.
Yeah, absolutely. As you said, it's quite common that people can have more than one, chronic
Yes,
diagnosis. And you can see how, the system, as you said, failing to consider the longer term consequences for someone, giving them some medication without addressing the underlying cause of this disease.
exactly.
And you can see how, when you're not addressing the cause, of course, there's going to be further consequences, you know?
Because the body just says, that's not what I needed when I gave you that symptom. Therefore, I'm going to give you another symptom in order to get your attention and
Sure.
have you do something differently. And yet we go back to the doctor, and then the doctor gives us another pill. And that's how people end up on, 3, 6, 9, 12 different medications.
Mm,
And again, when we understand how the body is designed to work and we look at the root cause, the deficiencies, the
mm,
imbalances, the toxicities,
yes.
that's where we can get on that path of true and lasting healing.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much, Melissa. I'm so looking forward to hearing your presentation at conference, as I'm sure that everybody watching this is too. And yeah, we thank you so much for being here and chatting with us today, and we'll catch you at conference.
Thank you very much. I look forward to seeing you and everybody else there.